Wrexham against Chester City. Those ties we played on January the 10th. And Chorley's name went into that FA Cup draw thanks to a gutsy performance against Preston North End on Saturday. A 0-0 draw and them a replay on Deepdale's AstroTurf tomorrow night. But trouble on the terraces tarnished that golden moment for the non-league side.
The spirit of football's traditional past returned fleetingly to Blackburn's Ewood Park on Saturday, with 15,000 people packing the old ground, only for it to be swiftly exorcised by the modern-day ghouls who inhabit the terraces. Memories of soccer's cloth-capped golden age were shattered when fighting broke out at the Chorley end just after kick-off. The police acted quickly to quell the trouble, taking some fans away and shepherding others to the opposite end of the ground. Fortunately, the rest of the action was confined to the field of play, with Preston having the better of the chances. In fact, they had the ball in the net as early as the 3rd minute. But Gary Brazil's celebrations were short-lived, with the goal being chalked off for offside. Chorley's best chance came midway through the second half when Webster went close with a header. For part-timers, though, a draw was a victory, and they celebrated in the traditional manner, although the connection between Gene Kelly and football is difficult to fathom. It could have something to do with superstition, which may explain why the Chorley lads carped this little monster around with them.
It's a darling, isn't it? Yeah, this mascot has been at Victory Park for about 14 years, and it's been lying about in some corner of the ground for ages. One of the directors found it, apparently, and asked if we should keep it. And Steve Phillips, who is a lookalike, actually, and he won't mind me saying that, we've kept it ever since. And since this has been with us, it goes everywhere with us, we've had a tremendous run of results.
But for Ken Wright, the Chorley manager, players are much more important than mascots.
Ours was an excellent performance today, but I'm getting a little bit used to it now. I mean, they were tremendous today.
Any stars in the team?
Great team performance. We had 1 or 2 players back who did particularly well today. I thought Phil Margin, our skipper, had an excellent game. I thought Gareth Webster played well in midfield. But all in all, they all did tremendously well today.
Not surprisingly, Preston's manager wasn't as happy with his players.
General performance wasn't very good. But having said that, we created all the chances as such. And, you know, and Charlie battled away and did a canny little side. And worked very hard for each other. And I thought there was times it could have caught us on the break.
Does the AstroTurf give you an advantage in shooting?
Not really. No, we can play bad anyway. It doesn't bother us.
But it might bother John if Phil Marsden can perform these kind of heroics in tomorrow night's replay.
Dave Stewart reporting. No goals at Chorley on Saturday, but 6 of the best at Old Trafford yesterday. United and Spurs fought out a bizarre
5-0 by Preston in their FA Cup 2nd round replay at Deepdale. So, if you're a Chorley fan, shut your eyes, turn the sound down for the next couple of minutes or so. Here it comes.
It was always going to be a tough tie for non-leaguers Chorley. They got a taste of how tough after just 4 minutes when John Thomas scored superbly, drawing the keeper and tucking the ball into the corner of the net. Chorley never really got to grips with Deepdale's plastic pitch. The North End went 2-up when skipper Usher Williams put Thomas through to score. And in the 59th minute, John Thomas scored his hat-trick with this firmly struck penalty. Goal number 4 was scored by North End's Usher Williams with a header that left the keeper grasping fresh air. And goal number 5 was scored by Gary Brazil after John Thomas, who looked like he might run all night, made a neat cross from the byline.
Meanwhile, up at York, a railway worker from Crewe
They're seen as being responsible for their success. This report from a revitalised Deepdale.
There were no signs outside Deepdale today to show that Preston had been promoted. But inside, the smile on manager John McGrath's face gave the game away.
It's something you work for 8 months, 9 months, and then when it happens, you know, it's brilliant, you know. I mean, the atmosphere in the club's magnificent now, and everyone's very excited. And really, they can't wait for next season yet, you know, and this one hasn't even finished. So, I mean, coming back from Orient on Saturday was possibly one of the best days in my life. You know, there was singing, nicknames and jokes were flying. You know, it was a very nice day and a very special one.
And what about your thoughts for next season and going up into the third division?
You know, we'll sell a lot of season tickets. All the boxes will go. All the advertising will go. It's frightening, the amount of money. I mean, I can't sleep at night. In fact, I went out last week and bought a calculator so to make sure I reckon all the money up right, because you know, I'm going to need quite a bit. That's the good thing about Preston North End now. They are ambitious. If you know, as I've said before, if you don't reach for the stars, you'll never touch the moon. And this is what we're doing. We're going to reach for the stars. We nearly touched the moon this year.
Well, we sort of truncated John McGrath there slightly, but well done, Preston, and well done, John. Now, all this hot weather is all very well. I think must have affected.
Others have fallen on harder times. Now, the significance of showing you this is that the league formally came into being on April the 17th, 100 years ago, which will be celebrated with a centenary festival at Wembley this weekend. Details of that in a moment, but 4 of the originals highlighted there, Burnley, Notts County, Preston and Wolves, were last night trying to get to Wembley by a different route. Jerry Sinstadt reports they're all still sides to contend with.
The heyday of Burnley, presiding genius Bob Lord, is not forgotten at Turf Moor and never will be. But last May, Burnley's happiest party of the 1980s celebrated survival in the 4th Division. Times have changed around the mill towns of Lancashire, where the league was born. The Industrial Revolution has come and gone. So too, for all but the fat cats of the big cities, has the 1st Division.
I can't describe it. It's absolutely fantastic. The crowd have been marvellous. We've got what we deserve. I think it's as simple as that.
Survive Burnley did, and this season revived, modestly and within their means. Their reward is a place in the northern final of the Sherpa Van Trophy. 2 legs of a local derby against Preston North End, the winners to go to Wembley. It set this part of Lancashire buzzing.
It jogs the mind back really to when I was a player, and whenever we played here, there'd be certainly 35, 40,000. And it would be, I would say, fairly consistent round the Lancashire clubs in those days. Wherever we played, there was always a big crowd. And when these two played, it was always a sellout. And of course, here we've got it again tonight. Lancashire Town Club's going well. And it's nice because I think there's room for an improvement in the Lancashire Town football. And these clubs, certainly, I think, could have a big future.
Nearly 16,000 fans greet the teams. The players know what's expected. The majority have spent their whole professional careers moving around the town clubs of the North West. Burnley's Paul Comsted, for example. He's played previously for Blackburn, Rochdale and Wigan. David Miller is Preston's right back, but he started his career here at Turf Moor. His father, Brian Miller, is Burnley's manager. Steve Taylor will be marked tonight by Preston's captain, Sam Allardyce. Last season, they were teammates at Preston. Earlier, they were together at Bolton. Even referee Roger Dilks comes from just down the road at Mosley. You can tell from the nerves that this is more than just another local derby. Players make mistakes when they try hardest not to. Steve Gardner is lucky to escape. From the corner, it's only the bar that keeps out the shot from Sam Allardyce. Now 33, Big Sam has played for Sunderland and Tampa Bay, but it's here in the thick of a Lancashire derby that he seems to belong. At the other end, a Burnley free kick comes back to Ian Britton, and David Brown gets down to deal with a twice-deflected shot. The first half produces plenty of chances. Good work by Brian Mooney, and Gary Brazil's shot kicked off the line by Ray Deakin. Then, following a Preston free kick, Gary Brazil's volley is deflected narrowly over the bar. But at the end, it's goalless. Deepdale will settle it next week.
You two have played together for a couple of clubs. Isn't it a bit curious when you come up against each other now?
Well, I think I'll start with that one. I mean, I think Steve knows that if I get the opportunity, I'm going to sort of make him know that I'm around, like, you know, and these things, when you're pals like we are, you can't let it affect your game on the field. We're going to come off, be together, go in the bar now, and I'm sure he's going to buy me a drink.
And show him your bruises?
That's right, I've got 1 or 2 to prove it. That he's been playing against me tonight, of course, again. We've had a few good tussles over the end. Like I say, it was fair and hard, and that's, you know, that's how we like it.
Brian, this must have been a rather strange week for you two.
Yes, obviously it's been a week, you know, a little bit of pressure on, and obviously there's been a little bit of ribbing between us both. But, you know, you've got to be professional about it, and we are professionals, and you've just got to get out and the side which you play for. I'm the manager of Burnley, David plays for Preston. You just got to go out and try and beat the opposition.
David, you grew up here, and in fact you still live just down the road. It must have been a very strange feeling for you.
Yeah, just walking down the road. That's only a mile up the road, and it's very, well, it was nerve-wracking to, you know, the beginning, but as the match progressed, I got more and more into it, and in the end, I enjoyed it thoroughly, you know.
Have you ever played at Wembley?
No, I've never. I think I was just saying before that I had a chance when I was at Bolton way back when I was about 21 there, when we got Everton in the League Cup, and we drew at Everton and we thought we'd made it, and we lost at home. A lot of people said then that there's plenty of opportunities, and of course one's never arisen from there. So to me and to everybody, whether they're 18 or as old as I am, it's very important that we get there.
Whichever team gets to Wembley, I'll be there if David's playing. Dave will be there if Burnley's there, and I'm manager. And Dave was brought up, as you say, a Burnley supporter, a Burnley boy. He played for Burnley schoolboys. And, you know, whoever gets there, one of us will be there anyway.
Meanwhile, at Meadow Lane, the Southern final was also 3rd Division versus 4th, Notts County against Wolverhampton Wanderers. And it was Steve Bull, the country's leading scorer, who put Wolves ahead, his 45th goal of the season. That stood until 7 minutes from the end. Then Ian McFarland, with his 26th goal of the season, scored for Notts County to keep the suspense going until they meet again at Molineux. The Sherpa Van Trophy has its critics, but you won't find them among the league's founder members with the whiff of Wembley in their nostrils.
Something that Deepdale haven't seen since 1964. I think the Sherpa Van Trophy is something new, something that is something great for the associate members. And I'm sure that if either club got to Wembley, we would see 60 to 70,000 people there.
Of course, which one of us gets to Wembley will probably have to buy a new suit.
Nice to see you both looking cheerful, and I wish you well for the return.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
And the full breadth of the league being celebrated at Wembley this weekend. Wolves are there.
Play. Malcolm O'Connor found the net after just 3 minutes, but Gary Brazil soon headed Preston's equaliser. Further goals from Brian Mooney, Gary Swann and Tom Ellis gave the Deepdale team a 4-1 win after they discarded those heavy old-fashioned kits for modern shirts.
Well, the former Bradford manager Terry Dolan, sacked recently, has been coaching at Preston this week. We're always on the lookout for new ideas. That's what the Preston manager, John McGrath, told me today. He missed last week's defeat at Bury because of flu. Here is Rob McCaffrey.
A tough Lancashire derby at Gig Lane. Bury take the lead on 56 minutes. David Lee's corner finds left-back Charlie Bishop, a bullet header. At that stage, Bury in command seemed destined for the vital 3 points. But Preston fashioned an equaliser 14 minutes from time. New signing Ian Bogey played well throughout. Sets up Warren Joyce, the substitute. Clever piece of skill, strong run. Finds Neil Williams on the right-hand side. Looks up, beautiful curler. Points shared, 2 goals from 2 fullbacks. One perhaps now fancying himself as the new Mike Channon.
Didn't score many like that, Mike, but the celebration scenes, I must admit, Rob, very, very familiar. Well, no, brother. Chester in the frame, along with Port Vale, Bury and Preston. Things going particularly well for Preston at home, but away from home, that's another story. Brian Mooney's indicative of the problem. The Preston winger has turned in some scintillating performances at Deepdale on the plastic surface, but on grass, he's been a disappointment.
Mooney. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's a beauty.
They say when Brian Mooney plays well, Preston play well. At home on plastic, he certainly inspired their promotion challenge.
Well, we like shoving the ball around, and with a flat surface like that, it obviously helps our game because of some of the grass pitches are so bumpy at this time of the season.
Certainly Mooney's skill has ensured Preston have the 2nd best home record in the league.
Mooney's got Ellis to his right. Might not need him, though. Oh, he's not trying to have a go, is he?
But if Mooney's form's not so hot away on grass, Preston seem to suffer too. Only 3 wins out of 16 games played, the second worst record in the top 10. Do you find when the pitches get heavy, your own style of play, people are able to slide tackle you more?
Well, I think it's much harder on a really muddy pitch than it is on like a good, like a flat surface. But sliding in, it's like everything about a muddy pitch. So you have to kick the ball, you can't really shove it around as well. So it's not like the plastic at all.
In the end, Preston's promotion chances may very well come down to the difference between this
Mooney, 2-0!
and that. This.
Well, nothing synthetic about Manchester have to do. Realistically, it's the playoffs or nothing. How they perform against Wolves at home tomorrow will be a good guide. But we're certainly with a shout, aren't we? Very well placed. Port Vale second, Preston in great nick of fourth. Now, those two played each other last week. And here's Tony Ellis about to score Bondi. We were talking to John McGrath about him this afternoon.
Yeah, he rates him very highly, Alton, doesn't he? He said he's a very good player with his back to goal. He turns the fellow nicely here and gets in a good shot. It's a good goal. No wonder he wants to keep him.
Nice to see Preston doing well away from that plastic surface too. But
Yeah.
here's a nicely taken goal by Tony Ford, but after a bit of a bloomer by Roy Tunks in the goal, in the Preston goal. Gary Ford just lobbing the keeper to give Port Vale a precious point. So 1-1 at Vale Park last week. Well, here's the top of Division 4. Crewe 10 points. Useful away points. We see them here getting one at Preston. In fact, Nigel Jemson, who we saw on the programme last week, get that winner at Chester in the 89th minute. That's him now. He's involved in this move and also around to finish it off.
Yeah, he's done well, and Preston have done well lately. They'll make the playoffs, and it's brilliant for them.
Wigan, on the other hand, are striving to stay in the third division. They've been picking up some useful points as well, and they get an equaliser here. Looping header, Paul Beasley. And they'll be well pleased with that 1-1 draw. Now, from
Impressive performance against Preston in the week.
Tranmere is scoring goals for fun at the moment. 3 a game, 7 past poor Preston. As some say, they found the new Ian Rush. I know you've heard it before. This isn't him, this is the other Mark Hughes. It's the pacey number 9 here. Chris Malkin, everybody's watching, stretching his long legs. Too long for Preston. Penalty. Ian Muir's stock and trade of goals. They're easy from the penalty spot. Plenty to say for himself too. Malkin can score goals. His 4th in as many games this season coming up. That's 4 more than Rushy. Although I think I know who Tranmere would rather have. Look out for the white blur at the near post as the cross eventually comes in from the left-hand side by Mark McCarrick. 2 in 2 minutes for Rovers. The tie dead and buried. Amongst the 5,000 crowd, Mick Mills, Brian Talbot and others with money in their pockets. Malkin not the only name on their shopping lists, but he caught the eye. Here he is again, spreading unease in the North End rearguard. Eddie Bishop with the Lofthouse challenge, hand of God on the line, another penalty. It's Muir again. Poor Preston keeper Roy Tunks is averaging 3 goals a game too. But North End have found a goal scorer of their own. Last minute, Graham Shaw poaches his 6th of the season, 4 of them in a cup run that's already over.
Well,
no one's had a worse start than Preston, one of only 2 clubs without a point and knocked out of the Littlewoods Cup. Well and truly knocked out by Tranmere. And that would make a lot of managers difficult to live with, but Mrs. John McGrath can handle it.
This is John McGrath's garden, and this is John McGrath's garden shed. John? Hi, good to see you. All right, don't mind if I just come in?
It's not every football manager who conducts his transfer business from the garden shed, but John McGrath isn't there by choice.
Well, about last year I was doing a bit of wheeling and dealing with Gary Brazil, and so I was sat at home and the phone went 30-odd times, and I'm afraid it drove my wife potty. She went crazy, and so I said, OK, I'll build a shed outside and I'll have my office outside, and ever since I've been stuck in here.
Preston are currently stuck at the bottom of the 3rd division. They've lost 5 out of 5 and 16 goals in the process. But at least their manager's still on form.
No, we're having a lot of fun at the ground at the moment. My centre-halves are having nightmares, you know, and one is getting a little bit deceptive at the moment. He's looking a bit slower than what he is. Simply because I think he got a horrendous injury in the summer. He got married.
That's affected him, has it?
I'm sure it does. It does. No, serious, you know, it does.
But doesn't it affect you? Doesn't it get you down?
Yeah, and every Sunday I dig an hole in the garden and fill it up again, and sometimes you feel like jumping in it. And we've always entertained. Last year at home, our fans saw more goals than anybody. Thankfully, there were more than the opposition's goals, but this year we see it just gone the other way about. And I've got that many players who love the ball, they enjoy the ball, and it's very hard to get it off them. In fact, I'm sure Mooney would dribble with it at half-time if I let him. And then I've got the boy Bogie in, Patterson, Ellis. They're all lovely ball players, and the crowd love them. And to be fair, I think the game needs that sort of players today.
Because you've been doing some wheeling and dealing, haven't you, in the last couple of days?
Oh yeah, I've probably done about 2 today. I know one will come through next week. Simply because I need it. I need a new face in.
Defenders?
Oh yeah, another centre-half. In fact, their dream match will be full of, I would think, of bananas next week. I think the 2 gorillas coming in.
Who says that life at the bottom has to be dull?
For the casualty ward. Blackburn Rovers start the weekend with a share of the 2nd division lead, despite some ups and downs against Oxford last Saturday. That was the low point. Colin Hendry couldn't do that again if he tried. It's the start of a trying week for Colin, who had an otherwise splendid game.
Gale, who scored a penalty against Crystal Palace here in the league game in October, but against a different goalkeeper. Well, he's on a hat-trick now, and he's missed it. And when they do their sums at the end of the 2nd leg, what will that mean?
Darren Beckford of Port Vale against Preston, John.
Yes, it's the first of his 3 goals out, and he's had 3 hat-tricks this year, so he's been a very good purchase from Manchester City. They paid £15,000, you know, and the supporters went into the money boxes and forked out £7,500 towards this 15,000. The directors gave the other. That's his 2nd goal there.
That was after Mark Patterson had pulled one back for Preston with that flighted shot we saw earlier.
Yeah, but Port Vale have done very well and come good at the right time. It's a good result for them.
3 goals then for...
Brian Horton gives good reason for optimism. 7 goals in their 2 home matches, yet to concede a goal in the league, and unbeaten in league and Milk Cup. Their side today does not include Brian Horton, who has something of a groin strain, but back comes the captain, Gareth Roberts, and the side also includes at number 8, Mike Ring, a player that Horton remembered well from his days at Brighton. Save for a defeat against Bristol Rovers away at Eastfield. Preston also have made a good start to the season. Their side, a mixture of youth and experience. No one more experienced than the captain, Tommy Booth, who played for Manchester City back in 1969 in the FA Cup final. And their least experienced player at number 7, Andy Murphy, who is one of the youngsters to come through successfully from the government's youth scheme. Well, that seems a far cry from the days of the cloth cap. The referee this afternoon is Mr. Howard Taylor of Oadby in Leicestershire. It's Preston's kickoff, playing this afternoon in all white. On a pitch which really asks for good football to be played upon it. Dale Rudd with the throw. Preston picked up without paying a cent from Wolves. First touch for the young Murphy. Hardly a breath of wind. Houston's cross, and the shot came from Peter Houghton. Dale Raj making his presence felt down the left side. Whitehurst. Good play by Houghton, showing good turn of speed. And Mike Farrelly hit the post. Ball really struck very, very well. Good pace by Houghton, and it was a good cross too. And Farrelly came up, hit it very true, and it smacked back off the post. Whitehurst down the middle. Massey to his left. Good flick on. This is Ring. Aaron. Askew wants it on his left side, and they've been pulled across a little bit, Preston. Aaron. The right position, but the ball didn't come down kindly to him from Massey. It's a busy opening. And the pitch, which has got a little bit slippery from some rain. And the players doing their best to brighten a very grey afternoon in Yorkshire. It's a corner. Pearson, Askew. Well spotted by Roberts. Both of them. Gareth to Dale. Woody Norton. Robbed by Gareth Roberts. And that's a fine try. Goalkeeper a little surprised that Whitehurst was able to get his foot round and get the shot in. Deflected off the centre half. Askew. Oh, well held by the goalkeeper at the second attempt. Tremendous drive from Steve McLaren. Litchfield, who was forward on his 6-yard line, found it singing his fingertips, but he was able to grab it at the second time. We're 10 minutes away from half-time, and the score is precisely that of this match on the equivalent Saturday last season, which ended at 0-0. That match played at Deepdale. Hull won the return fixture 3-0 in April. Good try by Clark, and the goalkeeper totally deceived by it. Well, he obviously did not see it. Tony Norman. Ball coming very deep to Jonathan Clark, who just thumped it past a totally bemused goalkeeper. So the deadlock is broken at the 36th minute. With Clark's first goal of the season, and the first past Tony Norman in league football this season. And reason for Alan Kelly in the suit there to be happy. Given for the challenge on the goalkeeper. How much it was it that the goalkeeper had to try and get round Peter Skipper, who was standing in front of him? Do you think goalkeepers are overprotected in football these days? So we arrive at half-time with the feelings of two players in particular in sharp contrast. The scorer, Jonathan Clark, and the man whom he beat, Tony Norman. First goal he's conceded in league football this season, and he just did not see the shot that went past him. And it gives Preston a 1-goal lead at half-time. Well, Hull City give a great deal of thought to entertaining their spectators and show a lot of original ideas, including those of the chairman, who invites spectators into the boardroom before the match. And this really is a ground worthy of football at a higher level. And one has to remember that last season they failed to get promotion to the second division by precisely 1 goal. And the Tigers, as the home team are known, are down by 1 goal as they start the second half. Now attacking the goal to our right. Preston, once known as the Invincibles, side that set the original standards, winning the first league championship and the first FA Cup. And I suppose in those days challenges like that would have been frowned upon. I'm talking about 1888-89. McLaren and McEwen on the ball. Skipper looking, so was the other skipper, Tommy Booth. Askew, it's all a little bit tight, comes out to Whitehurst, who, when he wanted his best shot of the match, palpably failed to find it. Skipper. McLaren. Big contrast between McLaren and Askew. McLaren's so leggy. Here's Massey. It's a good turn. That will be a penalty. Foul by Twentyman on Messi. And there was no choice for the referee, who it should be said was quite superbly placed. As Messi turned and went away from Twentyman, Twentyman thought there was still time for the tackle, but there wasn't. And here's McEwen from the penalty spots, and it's 1-1. So from Hull's point of view, as the home side, half the job is done, but there's still much more to do as the manager, the coach and the assistant manager are all making absolutely clear. Whitehurst, Messi going on. Oh dear. I think that was a little bit wild, but it made contact with nothing other than there. Norton. It will be interesting to see what effect that goal has on the composure of Preston. It is nothing if not a try, Steve Massey. Murphy deep in defence. Askew. Pearson setting his sights. And he was aiming for the corner flag. Askew. Whitehurst. Sudden wave of optimism is engulfing Boothbury Road. Boothbury Park, I beg its pardon. Tony Norman would seem to have been watching Bruce Gobelin. He's done well. Massey. I think what he was the wrong way around then, coming in from the wrong side. Askew. Clark. Askew has stayed down. It's Mike Farrelly. Oh, that's a beautifully hit shot. Quite superb goal by Mark Jones. Magnificent goal. Tony Norman certainly had not an earthly on that one. That's as good a reply as Preston could have wished for. Celebrations are going on now, those who travelled up from Preston. And the substitution for Hull City will now be made. Andy Flounders coming on in place of Mike Ring.
Once again, the calendar after 69 minutes, 29 seconds.
Ten minutes left for Hull to save their unbeaten record. Askew, McLaren. Massey, Whitehurst. Well, it was a fine opportunity which wasn't taken. One clear chance in each half. been unable to bury either and add to his tally of the season, which stands at 3. Rudge. Flanders. Roberts has gone on. Every other player left of Flanders. Whitehurst. So many Hull players asking for the ball. And the corner taking the match into its last minute. Follows. Booth thought there was some pushing. Askew across to take it. The referee has one look at the watch. And Litchfield seems to have a problem. That won't do it much help either. Another chance to cross it. Be another corner. It's a department which Hull have clearly won, forcing a number of corners, but they haven't been able to make them count. And Preston take the 3 points. 2 fine strikes, one by Clark and the other by Jones, being too much for Hull City, who scored from the penalty spot through Stan McEwen. So Preston go away with the points, and Mark Jones in particular will remember the match, as that was his first goal in league football.
Well, the match won by 2 splendid shots, it's true, but North End's keeper Peter Litchfield, in absorbing Hull's pressure, was by no means overshadowed by other illustrious keepers appearing elsewhere in the programme. And for those who like an argument, just consider the issues surrounding Preston's opening goal. As the corner's taken, you can see the linesman in the customary position. And as Clark shoots, it soon becomes evident that 2 Preston players are in an offside position and probably unsight keeper Tony Norman. The referee was perfectly placed and close to the action and awarded a goal despite the fact that the linesman was waving for offside. The referee, however, has the final say as to whether those 2 players were interfering with play, which they probably were, but also whether they were seeking to gain an advantage, which they weren't, because they were running back trying to get onside. That interpretation of the law could well change the shape of the game for the better, make offside traps obsolete and cheer us all up. But the interpretation must be consistent so that players know exactly where they stand. Bob.
Well, one win at Hull lifted them to 5th place in Division 3, a point behind Gillingham, York City and Bristol Rovers. In Division 4, Hereford and Chesterfield both won today to keep their 100% records.
Next week at 10:35 with 2 matches to set your pulses racing. They'll have to go some to equal the quality of shooting we've seen tonight, which will certainly add lustre to the September Goal of the Month competition. Donowa's goal, it's true, earned glory, but no points for Norwich, whereas the Preston brace gained the points and the club's first victory at Boothbury Park since 1934. That's just 50 years ago. Good night.
Haylock's now coming forward, bustled by Jordan. But here's a chance for Donowa. Oh, brilliantly taken. Beautiful shot by the substitute.
Good try by Clark, and the goalkeeper totally deceived by it. It's Mike Farrelly. Oh, that's a beautifully hit shot. Quite superb goal by Mark Jones.
Another Telford victim, Preston, one of whose youngsters, Jonathan Clark, believes part-time status is the key to their success.
Basically, with them having another salary coming in, especially third and fourth division players, we're under pressure now to get a living in the game, whereas they don't have that pressure. They have another salary and obviously a little bit more relaxed in playing the game.
So how do you beat Telford? Well, Fisher Athletics...
Just 9 miles away, a once proud Preston North End are in danger of stepping into the 4th division for the first time in their history. They've won just 3 points out of the last 24 available. Their gates at times have fallen well below the break-even figure of 4,000. And this week, Alan Kelly resigned as manager, although still prepared to help the club.
He is staying on until we fill the vacancy. And this could take several weeks because, as you know, Preston have not a good record as far as second managers is concerned. I think we've managed to get rid of 6 in the last 10 years, and we want to look very hard at this particular situation before we make a decision.
A sad reflection in a season which had apparently begun so well. Good try by Clark, and the goalkeeper totally deceived by it. Oh, that's a beautifully hit shot. Quite superb goal by Mark Jones. The trouble for Preston is that all things are compared with the days of the master.
Tommy Norton passes to Preston's Tom Finney, who slams it into the net.
So what sort of man do Preston need for the team to be able to live with a legend?
I think my idea would be somebody that's hungry for success, and young, and wants to make an impact in the game. And I think you've got to look out for these sort of people. And I think there are youngsters about, young players that are you know, just at the end of their career, but young in manager and their team to stay in the game. And I think that's the type of player I would be looking for anyway.
For Preston, and in particular for Alan Kelly, it's been perhaps the saddest week for 21 years, when hope was dashed in the last seconds at Wembley.
Getting dirty in the dying seconds, Braybrook. Are we going to have a sensational ending? Yes, we are! It's a goal! And it looks as if Boyce has got the winner, and the cup is going to West Ham.
The boardroom wall gives reminder of where Blackburn Rovers and Preston North End once were. Times have changed, but not the hopes.
Well, we hope better times ahead for Preston. As for Blackburn Rovers, well, you can see them in action next Friday, the whole of their 5th round tie against Mansfield.
Obvious reasons: Crewe against Bishop Auckland and Preston at Whitley Bay, one of the 8 non-league survivors. Now, Whitley Bay is to the northeast what Blackpool is to the northwest. Well, almost. It's their local holiday resort. The Preston manager, John McGrath, knows it well.
There's no doubt that John McGrath prefers his home comforts at the moment. Last weekend, Preston won their 4th successive match at Deepdale with a Gary Swann header against Reading. Just as well, they're only 3 points out of the 3rd Division relegation zone. Their away form's abysmal. But McGrath returns to the northeast tomorrow with all his infectious, extravagant enthusiasm.
Well, it's brilliant, you know. I mean, it's a great experience for these lads. I mean, we're probably one of the youngest teams in the country, you know. And the funny thing is, you know, I didn't realise just how young he was, you know, until I saw the lollipop man outside the players' entrance to see him across the road. I mean, the hardest, about 7 of them are 21 or under, you see. And they'll gain experience from this situation. And hopefully we'll take a 1st Division side in the next round.
The latest of McGrath's young guns to start firing is midfield player Ian Bogey, himself a Geordie. He knows all about the 1st Division from his days at Newcastle United, where Paul Gascoigne earmarked him as the man to keep a smile on Tyneside faces when he left for Spurs.
Well, he's our ball player. We've got the little rat, Roland the rat in with him.
Who's that?
Little Warren Joyce. And, you know, we have to keep him in the corner. He sits in the corner all. Because no one likes rats, really.
But he gets it.
Well, he gets it, he gives it, and
Ian does all the... He's got a super range of passing, you see. He can go 30, 40 yard passing. And it's a dying art today, you know. And plus the fact he's a bungler of tricks. So in fact, to be honest, I don't even know what he's going to do myself.
Is Ian Bergie like Paul Gascoigne?
Yeah, well, no, he's not as fat.
Because Gascoigne said he's my successor when he left Newcastle.
Well, that's right, and I think Ian believed it, you know, and he could. I think he could finish up better than Gascoigne.
McGrath's high opinion of Bergie is typical. He says 8 of his players belong in the First Division. Well, tomorrow they belong with the First Division of the Northern Prem at Hillheads Park, Whitley Bay.
Ah, wonderful reception. You know, they'll get booed, spit at, kicked. That'll be lovely.
Snowed on.
Yeah, no problem. They'll thoroughly enjoy it.
Love to be a fly on the wall in the team talk or a rat in the gutter. It's a very thin dividing line when it comes to football's extrovert types. Crowds love them, managers sometimes do. Character or clown, showman.
It's not only the players who've worked hard for the big day. Ground improvements have had to be carried out. Lads from a youth training scheme who normally stand on the terraces have been helping to improve them this week. Their opponents have a fine cup pedigree. Preston have won it twice, been runners-up on 5 occasions. In 1938, they played Huddersfield.
Full time and still no score. For the first time at Wembley, they must play a half-hour extra time. Here comes the incident that led to the fateful penalty. How does it look to you? The referee gave a penalty to Preston, and Match, who was the victim, took the kick. A goal in the last minute of the match. The game is over. The Preston captain receives the coveted FA Cup from the King.
It's the stuff that schoolboy dreams are made of. Whitley Bay manager Bobby Graham teaches at nearby North Shields, but has it been difficult to concentrate with such a big game coming up?
No, not really. Obviously from 9 to 4, Monday to Friday, you know, this is my bread and butter, and, you know, I'm heavily involved here. I mean, the match going on the 4 pitches, my under-13 soccer team. I've got a basketball match here tonight after school before I ever get to Whitley Bay for our final training session before the game against Preston. There's been a terrific interest from the lads and a lot of the girls as well. There's quite a few children from school coming along on Saturday. I've sold a lot of tickets within John Spence. There's a big contingent of staff coming down as well. So I just thought we don't disappoint them all on Saturday.
Needless to say, it's an all-ticket match, and they've had no trouble selling them. A crowd of 4,500 is expected. Heady stuff for a club which attracted a tenth of that number when beating Barrow in one of the qualifying rounds. And, win or lose today, at least the bank manager should be a happy man.
We've, like every other football club of our type, we've struggled over the last few years, even though we've been successful. It's been by the grace and kindness of directors and people helping. And yes, it'll make life easier, but I'd also like to think we might even make the bank manager happy and pay the overdraft off, which means I can look forward to next season, because I do feel that we've got a chance of promotion, and if we go into the higher division, that'll mean more expense, and I would like to make him happy before we take that step, you know.
The club has tasted some success, but this game overshadows all that. Even amiable chairman Alan Lingwood will have to break habits of a lifetime.
I shan't be serving in the boardroom on Saturday. I have a colleague of mine who has volunteered to do that. My wife will be in the thick of the catering, as she always is, and various friends in the town who own hotels are helping with us, and I shall probably be drinking them rather than pulling them this Saturday.
This week it's been business as usual for the team. They've even had a practice match with local side New Bigging. The terraces were silent, of course, but that's nothing unusual to Whitley Bay.
My assistant Paul Dixon and I always refer to Whitley Bay as having the silent crowd. We often say to each other, "Did you hear that?" And you'll say, "No, didn't hear a thing." You know, they tend to be very quiet, so hopefully on Saturday they'll give a bit of verbal backing, and hopefully we'll give them something to shout about.
North East sports fans are renowned for their vocal support. What Whitley Bay football team would like now is some of the passion demonstrated by fans of the Warriors.
He works his way in, the goalie goes down, they score! And again, they get a goal!
still, the pressure on now, and that's in the net.
First action then, Whitley Bay against Preston North End and John Motson.
The flavour of the FA Cup spreads to the Northumberland coast as Whitley Bay savour the most important day in their history. The all-ticket crowd of 4,500 inside Hillheads Park have paid just over £16,000, more than Whitley Bay's entire gate receipts for the past 3 seasons. Well, they have 6 players with Football League experience, but the whole team is North East born and bred, with the 2 strikers, number 9 Ian Chandler and number 10 Kevin Todd, each having scored over 20 goals already this season. Preston are managed by a man who knows this area well, the former Newcastle centre-half John McGrath. In goal, 21-year-old Alan Kelly is the son of Alan Kelly Sr., who played in goal for North End the last time they got to the FA Cup final in 1964. Well, referee Bill Burns from Scarborough gets his FA Cup tie underway. The mouth of the Tyne may seem a long way from Cagliari in Sardinia, but Whitley Bay proud to be wearing a new set of shirts today, provided by the England manufacturers. Blue and white stripes, blue shorts. Preston, also in a new strip, all yellow. Oh, and Todd's away, and he's got Chandler to his left if he can find him. It's still Kevin Todd, and it's now Chandler, and a chance goes begging for Whitley Bay. It fell in the end to Ian Chandler. Kevin Todd had a lot of space and took a while to decide which option to take. Here's Ellis for Preston at the other end. Patterson. Harper. And still Harper. Throw into Preston. Swann's going to take it. Harper. Swann again. Oh, that's nicely played by Swann.